Welcome to very insightful facts about Kentucky in drivers in GT Sport. Meaning, I'm from the greatest state in the United States, my good old Kentucky home. I always have, and most likely always will, lived and live in Kentucky. I've been playing Gran Turismo since roughly 2001 or so, since the beginning of Gran Turismo 3. And I think I can say that I'm at least a decent driver at GT Sport. But throughout the years, I've noticed there's a whole heck of a heap of awesomeness coming from Kentucky beyond just the very insightful facts about Kentucky videos I've done in the past, which are linked in the description, the first one of which somehow is my most watched video on my entire channel. I very much thank y'all for that. I don't know if that's exactly the same audience as this, but that's one of the main reasons I did this video. Because y'all seem to like the very insightful facts about Kentucky videos. So, sort of kind of like the original video where I was doing this accent and essentially making it a parody video, I'll try to make this video interesting, but also informative. I ain't exactly going to do that accent the entire video, because that was more meant to be a parody. This is actually meant to highlight some quite talented drivers. But yeah, let's get into it, folks. Here's some very insightful facts about Kentuckian drivers who play Gran Turismo Sport. To begin with, here's the most recent list of Kentuckian drivers that play Gran Turismo Sport. This is for the ongoing Nations Cup event. And as y'all can see, there's a whole heck of a heap. I mean, Kentucky has over 4 million people that live here. So obviously that means some of them would be playing GT Sport. Y'all might not necessarily consider Kentucky all that big in racing. But, well, Kentucky does have a racetrack. We have Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky, that hosts NASCAR events, and it used to host IndyCar, and it is quite well renowned around the nation and somewhat worldwide. That's fair enough to say. It's on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, so it's at least decently well known. And of course, Kentucky has had racing far before car racing, the most famous being the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky Derby in Louisville, Kentucky is arguably the most famous horse racing event in the world. I'm not the biggest fan of Louisville because of college. I go to the University of Kentucky. University of Louisville is, I guess, fair enough to say, a rival to the University of Kentucky. They're not much of a rival in something like basketball, because Kentucky wins the vast majority of games against them. But still, technically speaking, they are rivals. But that sort of starts bringing in sports, because colleges are starting to get ramped up in the esports community. I've actually even notified the University of Kentucky about general esports. I prefer it to be something like Gran Turismo Sport, but most likely it'd be something like Fortnite or Apex Legends or something along the lines of that. But one can wish for GT Sports. So, while ultimately it may end up being Kentucky has the first colleges that do Gran Turismo Sport as an esport, if my emails get heard, I hope, maybe. Maybe. That could be a thing. Kentucky is one of the better states, in my opinion at least, maybe a slightly biased opinion, for racing in GT Sport. Because now I'll get into more of the specifics with drivers. The first driver on this list, and the very top driver on this list, because I haven't raced on my main account and won't anymore, I wouldn't be first anyway, let's be honest. I mean, look at the driver first. I'll go to in a minute. The driver in second, y'all probably already recognize. Driver in first, GT Academy champion. Yes, folks, Kentucky has a Gran Turismo Academy champion. That's quite... I like saying that. My home state has a Gran Turismo world champion. That's awesome. Obviously, I've sort of done parody and spoof videos about me making the GT Academy ever since Gran Turismo 5. Like, I did the one with the back when the hacked cars were actually in GT5, like circa 2013 was when I first loaded that video, and then obviously I recorded it in 2015 when I had my YouTube channel. But I mean, yeah, it's always been sort of not truly expecting to get there, but I've always at least put in effort to maybe one day race with people who's been in GT Academy, and well, I've done that. That's quite incredible. I've raced with Gumball, who in real life I would link his YouTube channel in the description. Definitely go subscribe to him on YouTube if you haven't already. He's still quite active on GT Sport, even though he is actually as well a real life race car driver. I think he actually still currently races when he has time to. I don't 100% know how that works, but yes, folks, Kentucky also is actually quite well versed in real life racing, not just with this driver happening to making it. Kentucky has a lot of famous real world race car drivers. Darrell Waltrip lived in Kentucky a long time. Michael Waltrip was born in Kentucky. There's Jeremy Mayfield, who I'm not necessarily going to talk about here, but you know, if y'all look up Jeremy Mayfield on Google, you'll probably find something other than racing before other things about him. But yes, he also is from Kentucky. And I'm sure there'll be a whole slew of others in the future as well. And there's a lot of lower series drivers at Racing Kentucky as well, including some drivers who got big from racing in lower series in Kentucky. Tony Stewart raced in Kentucky. In fact, I remember in Frankfort, Kentucky, one of the cars he raced in as a kid is actually in the front of a pawn shop in Frankfort, Kentucky, the capital. That's quite cool. Just a little tidbit of information right yonder. Tony Stewart grew up racing some in Kentucky. And now back to more of the video game side of it. Tony Stewart raced in Kentucky. I would assume more in the bigger cities. Frankfort isn't downright small for Kentucky standards, but it's nowhere the size of Louisville or something like that. Which brings along the next point. The best driver on Team Mopar, one of the first drivers on Team Mopar, and also from Kentucky, Cardsman 3. Cardsman 3 is better than me in pretty much every type of racing. I'm not going to deny that. I can generally do decent in qualifying on certain tracks and such, but Cardsman 3 is way better in the racing aspect. And it shows because it's S-Class driver from Kentucky. Not just a GT Academy champion is an S-Class driver, also Cardsman 3, who again has also raced with GT Academy champions and more recently from the actual FI events and such. I'm not as active racing online anymore because really my internet can't handle it, but Cardsman 3 is named because of Louisville Cardinals. I don't know, maybe from Louisville, so maybe that's creating better internet, I don't know. But Cardsman 3 seems to be able to race perfectly fine and online. I notice he will run with Z28 and such during those live streams, and that's cool. I wish I could, but still, my internet can't exactly do that. Z28 is definitely quite popular in the GT community and such too. He has the Clean and Fast racing team that is also affiliated with yet another GT Academy driver, Eric GTR, and that's quite a big team as well. That's a good team as well as Team Mopar, obviously, duh. If you're here, you're on Team Mopar anyway. But yeah, Clean and Fast is definitely a team that I'm definitely like for positivity and such. That's Clean and Fast is always a good thing. Cards is race with Z28 and such. Again, I would if I could, but I can't really right now. It's maybe in the future, but as of now, where I live, I don't really think is compatible with actually racing in the GT Sport anymore. Some PS4 games actually work okay, like Grand Theft Auto 5 and such, but maybe that's because it's an older game, I don't know. But I'll try and figure that out at some point in the future. Maybe I'll be more active in actual online racing beyond sport mode because, as I said, I ain't doing sport mode on my main account anymore. Card Chain Theory is still quite active in online racing in many different aspects and is a quite great driver all around. Card Chain Theory, I think, has actually been on the official Gran Turismo TV in one or two different races. So that's quite incredible. Team Mopar plus in Kentucky. Definitely nice representation there. There's a GT Academy champion from Kentucky and the best original Team Mopar member. Team Mopar has so many members now, it's hard to say who's overall the fastest on the team. Again, if you watch videos in general, you're honorary Team Mopar. Probably at some point, one of the crazy, incredibly fast, unworldly type drivers had probably at least glanced at one of my videos at least once. If IOF Racing watched 1 second of one of my videos, I consider him honorary Team Mopar, so take that as you may. But nonetheless, Card Chain 3 was definitely the best of the original Team Mopar members. And it's still awesome that Card Chain 3 is still racing. Again, the cards part is kind of but whatever. That's still quite amazing. And on to other drivers on the list. I don't have their profiles up because generally that's more of like a privacy type thing. But there's still a whole heck of a heap of other drivers from Kentucky as well. The driver in third, I've seen name a bit and has been quite successful. Anyone to get to A+, no matter where you're from or whatever, is quite successful. Driver in fourth, though, I do actually recognize. So simply amazing. Seems like I remember this name from quite a while ago. I almost think this was one of the drivers who did the dirty racing. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like I've recognized this name for a long time. And I just found out recently when I researched to do this video that this driver is also from Kentucky, which is quite cool. Once again, this is done by regions, and you can set your region for wherever you live. Like if you're in America, your region would be your state, and then it would be different for different countries. So if you want to see drivers that are in your region, put the region you're in, and then like go to here. Local rankings, main area. And then secondary area would be the city for the state if you're in the United States. Like, for instance, in Kentucky, as far as I know, it's all there. But I think they might actually do it for counties. So, it may be different depending on where you are. I think Kentucky, they might do it in counties just because really Kentucky only has one fairly big city. Like Lexington and Bowling Green and stuff are good size, but Louisville's by far the biggest city in Kentucky. They have over 1 million people, I think. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. Kentucky has barely over 4 million. Louisville has 1/4 of the entire state's population. For better or worse, I guess. Again, college is, yeah, there's a bit of a rivalry there. But nonetheless, at least in real life terms, Louisville's definitely beneficiary to the state of Kentucky, like Churchill Downs, Louisville Slugger, all that. And again, the driver. Again, I don't know if Card Chain 3 is actually living in / from Louisville. I just know Cards is Louisville Cardinals. But I do know for Gumball's sakes that he, I think, has actually been in Kentucky for quite a while. I don't know if he's born there, but he's been here for quite a while. And then, I'm not going to sell my own stuff because, I mean, y'all can see that plenty enough. I mean, you're on my own channel. I would at least consider myself decent enough of a driver. It's hard to say really where I would fall out of everyone in Kentucky. But I think on my best day, maybe I could be third. If everything falls in order, if I could get all of the tracks. Card Chain above and Gumball above. He could arguably be the best driver in the world on any given day. He's literally won a GT World Championship, so that's quite amazing again. And then Card Chain Ontario, obviously, Team Mopar, so maybe slight bias there. I'm not even going to try to deny that one. But at my best, I may be third, but I haven't really been at my best in a while by default because I haven't been racing. But Card Chain Theory and Gumball, I think both have nearly the same amount of total wins at roughly like 100 apiece in sport mode. I have 300 and something, but that's skewed a bit. I'm not going to deny that in the slightest. Because generally, even before I did the whole boycott suts and all that's in many another video, I generally only did the races that I was best at. As I said it from the very beginning, I'm definitely a fair weather A+ class driver. Realistically, I'm low to mid A tier on the best of days if I were to do every race that was offered. But at my very best, I think I can say I'm alright. Because nonetheless, there's proof I have raced with the very best, being like Gumball and IOF, and that one race that I actually beat IOF in. Yes, that is straight up bragging, but any chance I have to say that I beat Igor Fraga in one race, even though it was kind of a fluke, he was definitely in a slower car, and he didn't have time to qualify, and it was with a closed beta, and it was a track that I had like 400 miles on practice beforehand, and I don't even think he had a chance to qualify for more than like one lap. There was that race that I beat him by like half a car length in. Okay, I'll admit this video is a bit of bragging because really it's kind of Team Mopar for real estate and such too, but still, nonetheless, very insightful facts about Kentucky videos in general. I know y'all seem to like those for better or worse, depending on actually what part of entertainment you're here for. Just to hear me screw around with stuff about Kentucky like those videos, or to hear about the other drivers and such. No matter why you're here, I hope y'all enjoyed this in general, because Kentucky has a lot to offer for racing. I already knew about myself, Card Chain Theory. I knew a bit about Gumball, but again, I did a bit more research on that to see like his win totals and such. And any other driver in this main bit here are quite great. I mean, look at how many total drivers in Kentucky. Oh yeah, I forgot it. Never mind, I had this as a picture. I forgot it's not actually in the game. My bad there, but y'all can research that for yourselves. If you go to a region and then put it to Kentucky, I think you can do it that way. Like, you don't actually have to put your own region to it. I think you can actually search within the game and such if you want. But nonetheless, there's many hundreds of drivers still even active from Kentucky. And obviously, Kentucky doesn't have the total numbers of something like New York or Florida or California. Just duh, that's obvious. Population makes that possible for Kentucky to have no numbers. But I think at least for top end of the talent, or at least the top two, I can race with the best, but I'm not going to beat any of the best. Except for that one time, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know that story. The top end can compete with anyone on any given day and have a legitimate chance to win. I don't think every state can actually say that, and it's quite incredible that me as a Kentuckian can say that. Kentucky has a GT world champion who's still active, and another driver who's raced with those on many different platforms, from Gran Turismo TV, down Z28's channel, and a whole heck of a heap, and that's quite incredible, and held their own quite well. I think in actually one of the more recent races, I can't remember whose YouTube channel, it might have been Windfire's YouTube channel. I was watching one of the, I think it was Nation's Cup race at Willow Springs Big Willow, the one in the Honda Civic. And Cards actually got the pole for that race, with Windfire and a whole heck of a heap of other crazy fast drivers in the race as well. So yes, Kentucky can compete quite well in real life racing. I mean, we quite famous for real life racing. Granted, it's with a horse, but I mean horsepower. Y'all probably saw that pun coming at some point in this video. I'm not sorry about that. I'm definitely not. But I mean, I'll admit, sorry if this was more kind of braggy and not completely like the other very insightful facts videos, but I still felt that this video was definitely worth making, even though the very insightful facts is somewhat of a misnomer because it's not completely tied to those other videos, but still. The greatest state in the United States, my good old Kentucky home, has some quite competitive drivers in it. I'm very proud to say that I'm a Kentuckian, and I'll say this too to end off the video. Kentucky has kind of a mixed opinion in a lot of other areas. I can already tell that. Even though I haven't really gone to most places in the world, I've never been out of the country. I rarely ever go to other states because of monetary general issues and such. But at least with GT Sport, I think Kentucky has signed a quite good light. I'm far from the cleanest driver in the world, but I will at least showcase other drivers when they do good things. And of course, the very top of the top, as I said, are quite amazing. And there's talent throughout as well. I mean, there's no denying Kentucky has a wide range of drivers who, from even the lower classes of driver rating, if they get paired with some of the higher classes, can still hold their own and have to the very top of the driver rating as well. Gumball, I think, literally has 75,000 driver rating points. That's perfect. And I don't think Cards is much far behind. So, the greatest state in the United States, my good old Kentucky home, is definitely worth a yeehaw. Kentucky in general is awesome. Y'all can see how awesome it is through the other very insightful facts. And I will link that playlist in the description. Also with racing, quite awesome as well. And all things considered, literally all things considered, both the racing and the state itself, it's most definitely worth a yeehaw. So, University of Kentucky's quite a bit better. University. Well, we'll find that out next year. I mean, for Jiminy Cricket's sakes, University of Kentucky football lately has been beating the lights out. Well, yeah, this thing. UK all the way. Everyone bleeds blue inside, and it's what's inside that counts. Yeehaw.